on YouTube, Gen X. This is my final video on arrogancy for a while now. You know, I'm just going to go away from it. But the part that annoys me is that arrogancy is always brought up in black men as if it's a problem that's exclusive to black men that may be younger and have their shit together, whether they're blue collar or white collar. No one is trying to take away the fact that you do have some arrogancy amongst black men. And that goes into people just being who they are. And it's also a function of the whole idea of, well, there's just no educated black men. Black men are bums. Black men are doing this. Black men are doing that, as Willie P. put it. So when you do have brothers that know they're that exception to the rule, what do you think is going to happen? You know, a lot of dudes are going to have blown up heads. It is what it is, but it doesn't take away from the fact that these men are still arrogant. You know, no one is taking away that fact. You know, and I've seen it, you know, being a black male myself. I'm not saying that I'm part of that group, but I do see it. So I can't act as if it's not there. As much as I want to say, well, I'm the template, I'm the norm, no. You know, I know when you're an outlier. You know, when I don't necessarily represent what's going on in a certain group. But you also have to be careful in regards to what is considered to be arrogant and cocky. A couple of months ago, you know, I remember T. Smitty had a show, and a couple of us were on that show, and I think it was something to do with single mothers or whatnot, or that's where the conversation was. And one of the ladies on the show pretty much proceeded to call us arrogant and cocky because we didn't prefer the whole idea of dating a woman who had children. So that puts you into the category of being cocky and arrogant. So you have to be very careful in regards to what can qualify for cocky and arrogant. You know, I understand what certain women say when they run to the whole idea of a man being arrogant and cocky. I get that. But then you have a lot of women that are filing this complaint, right, off of some shit that's, you know, pretty much bullshit. I don't want to date a woman with children. No, you know, you think you're too good. You're arrogant. You know, you have a lot of that shit going on, right? So keep that in mind. Now, men and women are funny because men and women, when we want to critique the other group, we will make sure that we run to a critique that we know they can't put back on us. It's like when women run to cheating. Not to say that men don't cheat, but the stereotype is that men do the cheating and women get cheated on. Right? So it's easy to, you know, critique men for cheating because they know men can't turn around and say, well, you guys do it too. Typically speaking, the stereotype is that men cheat. Or when men want to get on women for something that they don't do, they'll run to being overly emotional and illogical. We know that the women can't sit there and flip that around and put it back on the men because that's not something that men are known for. So I get that. But when it relates to arrogancy, you know, and black men, and it's usually your, you know, educated black men and your educated black women that have this problem of arrogancy, you guys as the women bring it up as if it's not going on your side. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, well, we both suffer from the same problem. And I'm not taking away, once again, from the fact that you do have some black men that are arrogant. That's not my stance here. So if you took men in America, let's say under the age of 35, who had their affairs together, whether it's blue collar, white collar, you know, decent men for the most part, and you looked at what race was the most arrogant, yeah, black men will be up there. But like we said before, there are reasons to that, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we would be up there. It's no secret, it's no game, no gimmick. But when you look at the world of women, let's say women under the age of 27, somewhat attractive, so they know that they can go off and get men to hit up. Men will hit on them, even if it's not the group of men that they may want, right? But they know a type of man is hitting on them, so they're somewhat good looking. They can support themselves, you know, no kids or whatnot. And you looked at that group, and you said, okay, what race would be the most arrogant? No one can sit here and tell me that black women would not be at the top of the list. At the top of the list. And we see how some of y'all, conduct yourselves and how some of you guys feel in terms of your self-perception. When you don't have kids, when you do, when you can support yourself, if you're somewhat attractive. Now, are all black women, especially the educated black women, like that? No. That would be an insult if I said that, because I know some women that are not on that tip. But once again, do those outliers or exceptions to the rule break the rule? No. Just like I said before, I know a handful of black men that really don't view the fact that they're educated as something that's special, especially coming from homes where both their parents went to college and both their parents are educated. But does that break the norm? No, it doesn't. And I would be a damn liar if I came through and said that I don't see this sort of arrogancy out of black men who do have their affairs together. I'd be a damn liar. So on both sides, it's a major problem. So I guess the next question would be, well, who's more arrogant? I know some people will run to that conversation, and I'm like, at that point, does it even matter? Does it really matter? It's like two students, one has an F, the other one has an F minus, and they're fighting over who's smarter. We both failed horribly. See you in summer school. If black women want the F and black men have the F minus, then so be it. But we're both at the bottom. We both suck. We're both horrible at it. So it really doesn't matter. The whole idea of being arrogant, it's a prevailing stereotype amongst black women, just like it is a prevailing stereotype amongst your educated black men. Simply put. I didn't really, I still don't understand why this is understood. Because like I said, a lot of y'all on the female side, you're bringing it up as if it's something that's unique to the men and not for y'all. Right? And then you have the exceptions to the rule that want to be blind and act as if they don't see it in their own group. That's the part that annoys me. Right? Where should I go next? Okay. Gotta be kidding me had two examples of arrogancy, and she talked about the man who was late, but, he wasn't really apologetic, and it was one of those things where, hey, you should just be happy I'm here. And one was a dude that was the model, and he would send her pictures of himself every day. That's pretty arrogant, So we know when a man is being arrogant. But on the flip side, we have those same stories for the women. Definitely we do. Where a chick may not be as considerate, or, she may not really have some sort of concern or genuine interest, but they expect you to still be around. They expect you to still pursue them and want to wine and dine them. We have stories about that too. Now, do we share them? No, we just move on. Because, yeah, it is easier for men to move on, but the fact that I don't talk about it and I move on doesn't negate the fact that there's a lot of women that have a level of arrogancy and cockiness that is there. So, as Gotta Be Kidding Me had her two examples, and I'm sure other people have more examples, legit examples, we as men have examples as well. We just don't spend time talking about it and putting it out there. The part that also annoys me is, once again, who's filing the complaint, right? The way it works is you always have the women that are not in their prime filing the complaint about your black men being arrogant and being cocky. And then you have the black men who have not hit their prime yet complaining about how the women of their age range are cocky and arrogant. So the 23, 24-year-old, like, one of the defining things that he's going to say, one of the defining critiques that he's going to pose towards black women is that, oh, yeah, a lot of them are cocky, they're arrogant, they're looking down on you, or, they have this idea that they're above you and they're doing you a favor. And then when you look at your older black women, they're following the same complaint, because they're dealing with men who are also in their prime. So to me, I sit back and I'm like, where's the difference? Both groups that are in their prime have been critiqued as being arrogant, overly cocky. So I really am at a loss for words when it comes to this sort of concept that it's only going on one side of the coin. It's a major problem on both sides, especially when you're dealing with people who may be, their firstborn generation in terms of, or first generation in terms of to go off and get educated or do what they need to do. For the most part, a lot of the times you're people that handle it well. Maybe you're people that are coming from homes, like myself, where, both my parents were able to go off to college, and the people around me did the same, so it wasn't a big deal. But this idea that, no, it doesn't really matter, right? Because black women, they'll always be humble about it, but the men won't be. I'm laughing at that. And the part that also kills me is the fact that you have people that will always be cocky and arrogant. It doesn't matter what they're doing. So there's the street dude that's arrogant. There's the educated dude that's arrogant. You have the blue-collar dude that's arrogant. You have people that's in their personality. But, yeah, you do have a fair share that almost get corrupted. They know if I go off to college and I get this degree, I'm the shit. It doesn't matter how I look like. It doesn't matter what I have going on. I got this degree. I know I'm the shit. Yeah, you have men that get corrupted by it, right? But that's not the case for all the men. And I get into this argument with one of my friends all the time because she loves to run to this idea that by default, if you're a black man who's educated, you're going to be cocky. And that annoys me because I'm like, a lot of these men would be cocky whether they're educated or not. And then I pull my hair out because I'm looking at the female side of the coin, and I'm like, how are you different? And then they want to use themselves as, the marker. And the part that annoys me is that that there's some arrogancy. When you guys have those closed conversations, girls only, when you're talking about what you want, or why you don't want to mess with this dude, or why this dude's not an option A, he's an option B, and you look at that, and I know you guys know that there's some arrogancy amongst your own group. So this idea that you can keep up this, front, I'm laughing at that. Because at least for me, this stereotype of your younger black woman being arrogant, it's pretty old. It's nothing new. It's been around for a while. I mean, and I say that because you look at the complaints of the men. You got men in their 20s talking about it, men in their mid-20s, men in their 30s, men in their mid-30s, men in their late 30s, men in their early 40s, talking about that sort of arrogancy and that sort of, I'm doing you a favor or I can do whatever I want to do, right? And you're still going to accept it. So for me, I'm done, but I really do get annoyed. And it's not even with your arrogant black men or your arrogant black women. I get annoyed with your black women that, for whatever reason, know that they're the outlier, they know that they're the exception to the rule, but yet you want to come through and act as if you represent the norm. And that you can level complaints against black men that you are also suffering from, as if it's not going on your side. So anyways, that's it. That's it. I just really have a hard time letting this one go. I really do. Like I said, I can understand what men and women do when we level complaints against the other that we know we don't suffer from. I understand that. But when it comes to arrogancy, I'm like, we both got the same problem. We're both filing the same complaint. Anyway, that's my video. Y'all take it easy. God bless.